Good morning, guys. So for this week we've got quite an interesting project. I was commissioned to make a coat hanger or coat rack, or like we call in Afrikaans, kapstok. And I'm going to make it from Kiaat for the guy. It's about 1.8 meters in total length. Conrad thought up quite an interesting leg configuration for this that we're going to try and do. So what I've started off with, I got from the lumber yard 50 by 150 Kiaat. I cut it shorter into 800mm pieces because that's all my lathe can take. So I'm going to turn this in 3 pieces, 2 long ones and a short top, and put it through the plane and then cut it short into blocks about 95 by 50. Now I'm going to take some leftover Kiaat 30mm that I've got, and I'm going to laminate it to this to get this up to roughly 90mm. So I might have to glue both sides up, get them square, get them on the lathe. I don't want to use this to glue onto this because I still have to cut the legs and everything out of the spare piece I've got, and I think it's going to be too much of a waste. When we make this 100mm thick, then it's too much wood that's going to be wasted at the moment. Kiaat's price at the moment is ridiculous. It's very expensive, so we're trying to save where we can. Grab a cup of coffee and join us for this one. It's going to be an interesting one. So in the end, guys, you're not going to see much of this project in this video, because I glued up the blocks and left it overnight, or actually for 2 days, while I continued cutting up some blocks for a restaurant, 20 little wood boards. After the blocks, me and Conrad continued and we built a big picture frame for 9,000 piece puzzle. And that was the main project for this video. Enjoy! So guys, I unpacked all the Kiaat that I have available at the moment. This is basically for 3 projects that I'm busy with. The one project is we must make 20 little serving platters or cutting boards for a restaurant. And this specific customer asked for brown and white. So the 3 boards on the end, these first 3, I'm going to use for those 20 boards. The next 3 boards on that side, we must make a frame 2 meters by about 1.4 meters for a lady that built a 9,000 piece puzzle. A picture frame basically. And the one on the end on the left hand side is what's left over. So first I'm going to cut these up quickly to dimensions, rough dimensions that we need for the 2 different projects. Then the offcuts of that, I'm going to see if I can then get some offcuts long enough out of this to laminate onto the coat rack pieces to make them thicker, as we discussed. The 3 pieces for the coat rack is glued together. What I've done is 50mm wide, then a 30mm and then a 12mm on top of that, just for some extra security. We'll probably lose most of the 12mm part, but I just want to make sure, especially if you can't find the center properly on the lathe, I just want some extra meat to work with. They're glued up now. What I'm doing now, cutting up the planks to make the 20 boards. I'm using my Festool, which I replaced the rubber as promised, and as well as the blade I replaced, just to get a straight edge, and then I cut them to 220, and then we're going to rip them to 310mm. That's the size of the boards, 220 by 310. Run them over and give it blood grooves. So guys, what you can see, I'm using a piece of extruded polystyrene just as a wasteboard on the bottom. I think they use it for doing ceilings, insulation in ceilings and stuff. I just got an offcut piece of that. Then I cut as little as possible off the one edge just to get a straight edge, and then put it through the table saw for the final width. see I've got quite a lot of white sapwood on the plank. In order to minimize that, I'm going to cut with a Festool a straight edge on the short side, because it's a shorter piece of sapwood. So it's basically going to be one board that's got lots of sapwood. And then by cutting it at 220, I'm going to lose most of that sapwood. And then I can give the customer more of the harder brown, beautiful wood. Let's see if it works. This new blade is amazing. There we are. So as you can see, we minimized the sapwood quite a lot, and we'll be make quite a few nice boards out of this. There we are. That's enough planks now for 20 little boards, 220 by 310 mils. I just put them all through the thicknesser to get them the same thickness, because we're going to CNC blood grooves into that. So if they're not a uniform thickness, the CNC work becomes difficult. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to edge, get one side of it square, put a stop block, and cut them all to 310 millimeters. This thing is making an excessive amount of dust. So I bought one of these reducers, and I'm going to see if I could quickly get some type of dust collection on my miter saw. So for a quick comparison, I just hoovered up quickly, vacuumed the whole area here to see how much of a difference the dust collection to the miter saw makes. The Kiyata is a gorgeous wood, but it really burns my nose, and I'm still not going to wear a mask on my face. I hate masks. Got the air filtration running, you can hear it in the back there. So to keep the air in the workshop cleaner, that thing is running always. But just to see how much of the fine dust we can catch up with the hoover. Let's see. So guys, as you can see, these things are notorious for making dust. That's with the vacuum running, and it's still a lot of dust, but I suppose it helps a bit. Right, my friend in Dust Collection is back. 20 boards are cut to size, ready for the CNC. I'm going to ask a friend to do the CNC work for us. My CNC is not ready yet, still busy with the upgrades. For now, the next project me and Conrad is going to work on is the frame for the big 9,000 piece puzzle for my niece. Conrad is the artsy guy, and he's got some great ideas for this frame. Let's see how that turns out. Just putting a 50 millimeter dado underneath to accommodate the puzzle and the hardboard to stuck to understand better a little bit later. So what we started off with was 120 millimeters by 25 millimeters thick stock. And we cut the rebate in 50 millimeters by 9 millimeters high. This is to make space for the hardboard that we glued the puzzle onto, because we needed a space to screw this to the wall. So the hardboard is bigger than the puzzle, about half of this, and that we use to screw the puzzle to the wall with. The rest of the overhang is to just cover a little border that's on the puzzle itself. You'll see that in the end once we're done with everything. After we cut this with a dado stack, we then routed a little figure in there. I think it's a Roman OG we put. And then we took a piece of wood, rounded over 4 corners, and split it in half on the table saw. Again with a dado stack, cut a little dado in there and glued that right around all 4 sides. That was then the major stock that we started with. We mitered then, and we put the frame together to get the final size. We took, after we screwed it together, we used pocket holes on the corners, pocket hole the whole thing together, loaded it on the bakkie, took it to my niece's home and fitted over the puzzle, make sure everything fits well. We were lucky it fit like gorgeous. So the basic frame was then done. So what we've done then is took a 75 millimeter piece of stock, routed, and then added that to this. And that's the basic finished profile we ended up with. What I'm doing now at the moment, or what I would like to do now at the moment, is cut a piece of wood about 10 millimeters wide, just a little bit taller and with a roundover on one side, just to cover up the glue joint and the end grains on the ends of this massive picture frame. Hi guys and girls. So yesterday I finished up cutting the little blocks for the restaurant. The 20 blocks is now by Koenraad. He's going to take it away for the CNC work. Then it will come back and we'll show you what they look like. The blocks for the coat hanger is drying in the glue. The most interesting project we've worked in a long time is this picture frame. It's a picture frame we made for my niece. She built a 9,000 piece puzzle, 1652 world map, and she asked us if we could make a frame for that. Now by far this is the largest picture frame. I even searched on YouTube, I can't find somebody that built a frame as large as this. It is in the width 2.16 meters wide, in the height 1.61 meters high. Me and Koenraad built it yesterday. Let me show you the details. I've added the frame to the picture frame or the border, and it rounds it off quite nicely. It looks like a complete project now. Now I've got enormous amounts of sanding left to do on this frame. There's lots of burrs, everything is, I've left the corners loose for fixing it to the wall like I explained to you. But there's loads and loads of sanding to do before we can start finishing on this frame. I'm quite proud of what this ended up to be. Me and Koenraad worked long hours yesterday to get this done. We didn't get much done on the kapstok, but hopefully next week we'll continue with it. For today I'm done. I'm just gonna sit back and relax a bit. Next week we'll start sanding and varnishing. What we're considering is taking a light mahogany stain. Just give it to a once over, just to get more uniform color on the whole of the frame. I'm happy with this project. I hope you enjoyed it. So guys, what made this week possible? I imagine the two machines that really stood out this week was the router table. An enormous amount of router work went into this frame. And then of course the miter saw. My old Metabo miter saw gave its part this week. Really, it shined. And of course, something very important is the blades on your machines. I believe in a good quality blade. They last longer, give a better cut. I use the Freud range in all my machines. I've got one of my table saw, I've got one of my miter saw, and I even now replaced this week the one in my Festool TS55. If you have a good blade, I mean, I've got so many customers coming into the shop by us. They work with the TS55 or the Makita SP6000 track saw, and then they come and buy the cheapest blade they can find. They got the most expensive circular saw on the market, but they cut with the cheapest blades they got. That just doesn't make sense for me. So you're not saving money. It's those cheap blades, and the people living in South Africa will know what brands I'm talking about. That's really for somebody that's cutting up plywood for construction sites and stuff like that. It's a horrible blade. They don't last. It's not even worth sharpening. One good sharpening is more expensive than the blade itself. The material they make those blades from, not as good. I promise you, with these blades, I went through nails already. I've cut, as you've seen with this project, stock that is 50-60 millimeters thick. One cut, clean cut, no burning, no binding. Really, people, invest in proper blades. I use my blades, they work very hard, very hard. And I send them, so every 3 or 4 months, depends on which machine it is, for sharpening. I don't send it to anybody to have sharpened. I send it to specific people, especially the Freud blades. Not everybody knows how to sharpen them. And that's a good investment. I mean, your machine will last longer because it's much less effort to get through a piece of wood. With those cheap blades, the machine must work so much harder to get the job done. So please guys, consider investing in good blades. There's a few companies in South Africa that really supply good blades. I don't say just buy Freud. I mean, there's Loico, there's a few brands in the country that is good blades. But I stand by the red ones. They do very well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this week. I think this was quite a major milestone for the little woodshop. It's definitely the biggest picture frame and the most complicated picture frame I've ever done. I'm very proud of the job, and I hope my niece will be happy with it. I will try to show you a picture once it's on the wall or on the puzzle, and I think that will be a nice conclusion to this project. Next week we'll start with the lathe work on the coat hanger, or coat hanger. Some nice turning work to be done there, and then hopefully we'll get the CNC work done with the 20 boards that we finished this week, so that we can do the final finishing on them, send them off. It was a nice week. I enjoyed it very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, pound that like button. Thank you very much.